Hello guys, welcome to my channel, The Young Economist. We're going to be looking at what does classical economics mean. So if you're here on this video, you probably want to understand what classical economics is or what does it mean. Okay, so I'm going to explain this using the whiteboard. So just give me a few seconds. Let's go to the whiteboard. Okay, so this is the whiteboard. So now there's something I need to explain to you before we get into this. You see, in macroeconomics, usually what happens in order to explain some possible implication to, the macroeconomic behavior, we usually use certain types of tools. These are the models. Okay, so there's a very popular model which was being championed in the before the early 1930s, and this is the classical school of thought, well, better known as the classical model. So the whole issue is that the assumption is that when you have this image, okay, let me show you. You have prices there. This P is denoting prices, and then you've got Y, which is denoting GDP or output. The assumption is that the economy is at full employment. So what this actually means is that it actually means that the economy always operates at the highest level of output. And in essence, what we are saying is that the aggregate supply curve is actually vertical, okay? The aggregate supply curve is actually vertical, all right? So now the aggregate demand, of course, it's downward sloping. Sorry about that. Let me draw that again. The aggregate demand curve is downward sloping, okay? And then you have, okay, maybe let me color this properly. I hope I'm not taking too long with this. I don't want to bore you. Oh, sometimes this laptop is just too slow for me. Okay. There, let me change the color. So, all right. So this is, we will call this PO, okay, at equilibrium, okay. So now what happens is that because the economy is operating at full employment, okay, this is full employment. So the aggregate supply is vertical. So the only way this aggregate supply curve will shift to the right is if there is introduction of new technology, okay? So what this will mean is that instead of it being here, if let's say something new comes in the market, the aggregate supply curve would have to shift to the right. So meaning that instead of being on where it is right now, it will shift to the right, which is, and then there'll be we'll call this Y1, and then perhaps the prices may go down. But that is the school of thought, okay? So unless there's new technology, then it shifts, okay? So let me wrap that. So now, let's talk about what shifts the aggregate demand curve. So the assumption is that if there's an increase in government spending, okay, let's say government spending goes up, that's government spending, then the aggregate demand curve will shift to the right. So instead of having A1 here, you have AD2, okay, AD2, okay, and this is A1. So now if consumer spending increases, then this also shifts to the right, okay. So an increase in the aggregate demand, which is as a result of the consumer spending and government spending will lead to an increase in the prices, which is at P. Okay, we'll just call this P1. Let's call this P1 and this P2. That is not clear. Okay, let's call this P1, P2. Okay, so now I hope you so far this is going on well for you. So in the classical model, management decision has no impact on production, and hence employment won't be improved. So what this actually means is that even if you have an idea, you want to increase output in the classical model, the thinking is that because you are already operating at full employment, there is no unemployment, you are maximizing the use of all your resources, there's nothing you can do in order to shift this aggregate supply curve. And as a result of that, the only way you're going to shift this guy is if you have a new technology on the market. Okay, so guys, I hope you enjoyed this short discussion, and this is the classical model. Please do well to subscribe to this channel. It's totally new. I want to hear from you. I'll put my email in the description very soon. So please subscribe. All the best, guys. Bye.